Chapter 354. Do you have a lover? When he looked up, he noticed the golden sun and silver moon shining above them. Everything else around him was blurry shadows. Other than this platform, he could not see any further. All 13 spots on the round platform were rapidly occupied. In addition to him, Wang Donga, Wang Hua, Bei Bei, Hiketu, Xiao Xiao, Zhang Nanan, Xu Sanqi, Zhang Wasun, Ning Tian, Wu Feng, Da Huabin, and Zhu Lu were there. They each stood in a gold and silver gas bubble. Who are you? I tried to shout, but he realized that his voice could not be heard by the others. The others observed their surroundings carefully. From the shape of their mouths, some appeared to be shouting. However, this place was eerily silent. Calm. I must keep calm. This was ultimately the yin-yang love querying Bali. Who are you? Made his decision. He opened his human-shaped soul tool and revealed himself. This was so that the others could see his expression. Wang Donga looked at him straight away. Who are you? Quickly raised his hands and waved at her. Wang Donga waved back at him, telling him that she could see him. After much thought, Who are you? Started to gesture with his hands. Due to what he had shouted out earlier, his hand gestures caught everyone's attention. His gestures were simple. He told them to do as he instructed. At this moment, the golden round platform started to emit fog. Suddenly, a thin sliver of golden light shot out from the center of the round platform. It quickly made one round around the platform. The back of the golden sliver spun around and pointed at the 13 round platforms. The heavens and the earth will query you about your love. A heartfelt adventure. Begin. A voice said calmly. No one could tell if it was a man or a woman as it rang out in the ears of all 13 of them. They all quieted down because, to their surprise, they realized that all they could see now was gold and silver light. The sliver of light at the center of the round platform started to spin rapidly. It passed by all of their bubbles, lighting them up in succession. After it passed, their bubbles returned to their normal state. Suddenly, the golden sliver stopped. It pointed to a smaller, round platform. The person on this platform was Wu Feng. Wu Feng was chosen by the golden light. She was a little shocked because the bubble she was in started to light up. She was a proud individual, however, and she showed no sign of fear. She appeared to be shouting something. The bubble around her disappeared. A column of golden light started to rise from underneath her feet, and soon, it enveloped her whole body. Inside the golden light, her body slowly started to rise. When she was a meter above the ground, it stopped. Wu Feng felt the changes with a little shock. She discovered that while there was nothing wrong with her, she could not move anymore. At this moment, the emotionless voice rang out once more. This time, only she could hear it. Do you have a lover? Wu Feng's heart shook, but she did not open her mouth. In her mind, all she could think of was Who are you? Instructions. Do you have a lover? If you don't reply after the third time, you'll be punished with death. Yes, I do, said Wu Feng loudly as she grit her teeth. While the others were paying attention to her, they all appeared slightly confused. She could see that she was the only one who could hear this voice. Who is your lover? The voice asked calmly. Ning Tian, replied Wu Feng without any hesitation. That's her, right? The golden light underneath her lit up and landed on Ning Tian. Instantly, the bubble around Ning Tian opened, and she too started to float in midair. Ning Tian. Wu Feng cried out. However, the bubble around her started to rise, blocking out her voice. However, her bubble was now transparent. Unlike the rest of them, she could still see Ning Tian. Do you have a lover? The voice asked Ning Tian. Ning Tian frowned and looked at Wu Feng, who appeared to be shouting, shook her head, and said, No, I don't. She said you're her lover, right? The voice asked once more. Ning Tian was shocked, and then she replied, I know she likes me. However, we're both girls. I can't accept homosexual love. Hence, I only treat her as a good friend. If you don't love her, she'll die. Will you choose to love her? The voice quickly asked. Ning Tian paused. This question was difficult to answer. If you don't love her, she'll die. Will you choose to love her? If you don't answer after the third time, you'll be punished with death, repeated the voice. Ning Tian gritted her teeth and said, No, love doesn't work that way. I can die for her, but I can't love someone of the same sex. When she said that, she did not notice that the bubble around Wu Feng had disappeared. Wu Feng heard everything she had just said. Wu Feng's face turned pale. Ning Tian was once again enveloped by her bubble, and her voice was sealed off. You heard her words. Do you still love her? The mysterious and calm voice asked Wu Feng. Wu Feng bit down on her lower lip, and her eyes shone with a fiery light. You're so cruel. You heard her words. Do you still love her? If you don't reply after the third time, you'll be punished with death. The calm voice repeated in a mechanical fashion. Yes, I do. She doesn't love me, but this doesn't mean I can't love her. Why can't this love be one way? Wu Feng shouted in rage. She just said that she'll die for you, but she won't love you. Are you upset? The calm voice asked in a way that sought to torture the target as much as it could. No shit, you bastard. Wu Feng cursed. Ha. A golden light came from nowhere and hit Wu Feng fiercely. Instantly, the clothes around her waist were torn open, and a bloody wound could be seen. Her soul power was completely sealed, so she couldn't release her martial soul. Wu Feng could not help but cry out in pain. For the insult, you're punished with one stroke of the whip. If you do that again, you'll die. Yes, I'm upset. Does that make you happy? Tears dripped from Wu Feng's face. She had always liked Ning Tian, but she knew that Ning Tian could not accept such an unconventional love. If not, she would not have shown her love for Huo Yue at the Sea God's Lake. She said that she's willing to die for you. Now, I have two options for you. You can try and get her to die for you, or you can die. If she's willing, you'll live. If you're willing to die, then she'll live. Between the two of you, only one of you will live. The calm voice suddenly turned cold, and brimmed with a strong killing intent. It was enough to make Wu Feng shiver. However, she made her decision almost instantly. Without hesitation, she said, All right, I'll die. Let her live. Let her leave this place and live out her life. Kill me. When she said that, Wu Feng looked deeply at Ning Tian. Tears flowed from her face, but her determination never wavered. The golden light flashed. A golden blade appeared silently in front of Wu Feng. At the same time, she found it could move her hands once more. Kill yourself. The calm voice said as if it was nothing. Wu Feng inhaled and cried out, Let Ning Tian go. As she spoke, she grabbed the sharp blade in front of her and pierced her chest with it. However, at that very moment, time seemed to stop. Wu Feng was frozen, though the tip of the knife was already at her chest. It looked as if it would penetrate her chest at any moment. The bubble around Ning Tian burst open, and the calm voice said, To let you live, she's willing to sacrifice her own life. If I hadn't stopped her, she would have already died for you. You just said that you're willing to die for her. If you want, you can die, and she'll live. This is your last chance. As she said that, the same golden blade appeared in front of Ning Tian. Its sharp blade gleamed coldly. Life and death. This was the hardest question of all for humans. Ning Tian grabbed the knife and looked at Wu Feng, who was suspended in midair with tears running down her face. Her blade was almost at her breast. She couldn't help but take a deep breath as tears trickled down her own face. Ah Feng, I know you like me, but we're of the same sex. I've told you many times, but you just won't listen. For me, you're willing to offer your own valuable life. I owe you this. Here, maybe only one of us can live. Go and live your life. If we meet again in our next lives, I hope to be a guy. Then, I'll marry you for sure. As she said that, Ning Tian closed her eyes, lifted the golden knife and slashed at her throat. Two golden rays of light lit up together. Ning Tian suddenly felt a weight disappearing from her hand. On the other side, Wu Feng could move once more. However, the knives in their hands had disappeared. Two different voices sounded next to their ears. Their frames were enveloped by the bubbles once more. Over on Wu Feng's side, the voice said, Love is blind, and may go against human nature, making it impossible. However, true love is willing to sacrifice everything. This kind of love is pitiable. You passed the first round. Sincerity. Over at Ning Tian's side, the voice said, Love is not blind. For friendship, you're willing to sacrifice everything you have. This comes from the depths of your heart. You passed the first round. Sincerity. Ning Tian and Wu Feng looked at each other, separated by their bubbles. Both of them felt slightly disoriented. In their hearts, they felt a strange sensation, as if they had understood something. This place did not appear as frightening as they had thought. There were now an additional pair of gold and silver rings over their bubbles. The gold and silver light screen rose once more, blocking their view. The sliver of golden light started to spin rapidly once again. When the shining golden light from the central round platform stopped this time, it stopped on Bei Bei's platform. The bubble opened, and Bei Bei was suspended in midair. The calm voice asked him, Do you have a lover? Bei Bei could sense that there was a light flashing outside, but he did not know what had happened. However, he trusted Huo Yue completely. Coupled with his own intellect, he calmed down quickly. Yes, I do, he replied calmly. Who is she? Tanya, Bei replied without hesitation. She's not here, right? Correct. Bei replied quickly. The calm voice paused momentarily, then asked, what is the one thing you want to do the most for your lover? Bei replied, I want to help her return to normal, so she can be by my side once more. The calm voice asked, when she's by your side again, do you think she'll be happy? Bei answered, I'll do everything I can to make her happy. The calm voice said, your words mean nothing. If you could exchange a body part of yours to make her normal again, would you do it? Of course. Bei replied firmly. A sharp golden knife appeared before him, and the calm voice said, then castrate yourself. Bei paused. He had not expected that this unknown voice would make him do such a thing. Are you sure she'll recover? Bei could not help but ask, do you have a choice? The calm voice replied, as an image appeared in front of Bei. It was a face he was extremely familiar with. Tanya sat quietly on a bed. She stared blankly out a window, and her face was extremely pale. Dark blue patterns of light occasionally glimmered on her face. You just said that you would be willing to sacrifice a body part for her. Do you regret it now? You can regret your choice. You can choose not to cut it off. The voice said calmly. Bei's body was shaking. However, he slowly raised his hand and touched the blade. I'm willing to castrate myself for her, but I have one request, he said as he gripped the blade of the knife tightly. Speak. If you can really cure her from afar, then try your best to erase all her memories. Make her forget me. Make her forget everything about me. All right, I can consider that, the voice said plainly. Thank you, Bei replied. His eyes turned red as he stared intently at Tanya in the image. Suddenly, he shouted, Xiaoya, I love you. A golden light glinted as he brought the sharp blade down. Who? An intense shot came through him. Bei felt everything turn white. You're willing to sacrifice for love, and you don't want your lover to feel upset. You passed the first round. Sincerity. The light screen rose, and Bei stared dazedly as he watched the silver gold light screen blocking his vision once more. He was back in his bubble. He could not help but shout, I've already cut it off. Cure Xiaoya. There was no reply. Furthermore, Bei felt that something was amiss. He lowered his head and felt the pain coming from his leg. There was no sharp knife there. The hand which had gripped the sharp knife had only struck his leg. No wonder he only felt pain. The golden light started to spin once more. Bei felt as if all his energy had been sucked out of him. He sat down on the floor as cold sweat trickled down his body. For guys, there was a certain body part that was more important than their lives. He was willing to sacrifice it for Xiaoya, but it would be best for him not to do it. Bastard, what if I'm permanently scarred by this? Bei cried out in pain in his heart. He had lost his previous call. The golden light continued to spin. This time, it stopped rather quickly. Before it even completed a rotation, it stopped. This time, its target was Janlasun. The bubble opened, and Janlasun rose into the air. When she looked at the changes that were taking place around her, Janlasun was even calmer than Bei. She had been trying to unleash her martial soul. While she was not successful, she did not slack in her efforts to do so. How could she be the strongest in the inner courtyard without a strong will? While Elder Mu did allow her to enter the Sea God's pavilion before he died as a form of compensation, it was also in part due to her powers. Do you have a lover? The calm voice spoke up once more, causing her to perk up. No, she replied without hesitation. Have you loved someone before? The calm voice asked once again. Yes, Janlasun replied. She remembered Hua Yua's words very clearly. Who is he? Janlasun took in a deep breath, then said, Bei. She did not know that at this time, while Bei's bubble blocked his gaze, he could hear everything Janlasun said. Just as he recovered from the previous questioning, he heard Janlasun's voice. This made him almost jump up from the ground. Has he ever loved you? The calm voice asked Janlasun. No. Janlasun knew the answer to this question very well. How did you fall for him? The calm voice asked quietly. Janlasun paused, and she blushed slightly. However, a look of pain crossed her eyes. How did you fall for him? If you don't reply after the third time, you'll be punished with death. A bitter smile crept onto Janlasun's face. This question opened the deepest wound in her heart. When I came to Shrek Academy, he was still young. At that time, Elder Mu made me swear to become his wife. I had to take care of him, love him, and be his wife in an arranged marriage. Elder Mu saved my life. At that time, I had nowhere to call home, so I agreed. Elder Mu treated me well and trained me wholeheartedly. Soon, I became the most powerful soul master of my generation. He made no other requests of me, but I remembered my duty in my heart. I was Bei's fiancé, his wife in an arranged marriage. I watched him grow up day by day. At the start, I tried to play the role as best as I could. I accompanied him every day, protected him, and tried to fulfill all his wishes. This was because I had already made mental preparations to marry him when he grew up and become his wife. Since then, in my heart, he was already my little husband. However, he never treated me that way in return. All that time, he only treated me as his sister. He always called me sister. At that time, we were still young, so I did not give it much thought. As Bei grew older, his body started to mature. He finally surpassed me in height. At that time, I finally realized that my future fiancé had become a man. He was very handsome. The corner of his mouth beamed like the sun, and he smiled in a devilishly handsome way. Everything he did attracted me. I felt that the promise I made was not a task anymore. Something stirred in my heart. Perhaps she had kept these words inside her for way too long. But in this mysterious unknown world where even Elderson could not resist, Janlasun started to speak freely. She bared her soul, and at that moment, a slight smile crept across her face as she indulged in her memories. Bei heard everything from his bubble. He experienced everything that Janlasun said. He felt that he had returned to that time of his life. A beautiful elder sister who was always next to him. An elder sister who would protect him and satisfy his requests. When he was young, he was so in love, so dependent on her. Then, he turned 12 years old, and finally entered the academy to study. At that time, I was a disciple of the inner courtyard. As my cultivation became more intense, coupled with my split from the outer courtyard, we had no choice but to separate. At that time, I thought, I must continue to cultivate and become stronger so that I can better protect him in the future, and guard him as he grows up. However, I never expected that when he appeared before me again, he was next to a little girl, a beautiful girl around his age. She was extremely pretty, and he treated her very well. I could tell that he looked at her differently from how he looked at me. At that time, I realized suddenly that I'd lost my fiancé. I went to find Elder Mu to report this to him and seek his counsel. He thought for a long while, and then told me that his decision back then had been too selfish. He should not have let me make that promise. After all, I was much older than Bei. Even though soul masters don't age normally, there was still a generational gap between him and me. Elder Mu said that from that moment, I had regained my freedom. After all, Bei did not know about this, and I could choose my future from that moment onward. When I left Elder Mu's room, I felt as if I had lost my soul. 10 years of care and 10 years of commitment. In the end, it was not a promise that I had to keep. However, I realized that this young, always smiling boy was already imprinted in my mind. I tried to forget him as quickly as I could. I tried quite intensely. Every day, I trained as hard as I could. I hoped to numb myself with my cultivation. However, after I ended my closed door cultivation, I met him by fate once more. At that time, I realized that there was no way I could forget him. I actually fell for a guy who was almost 10 years younger than me. I found Elder Mu and I told him that regardless of what decision he and Bei came to, I would fulfill my promise. I would become his fiancé, and I wouldn't betray my vows. When I said these words, I was extremely resolute. However, only I knew that I wasn't bound by this decade-old promise. Instead, I was bound by the emotions in my heart that had grown over the past 10 years. In 10 years, I watched as a boy became a man. In my heart, there was no other man but him. Janlasun choked on her words. She finally released all the emotions she had been suppressing in her heart. In all these years, whenever she saw Bei and Tanya together, her heart would ache. What pained her even more was Tanya's disappearance. Since then, Bei had changed. However, it was only because she knew him so well that she felt so strongly. Janlasun had never fought for his heart. After all, she was older than Bei by almost 10 years, and Tanya and Bei were closer in age. How would she stand a chance? Hence, Janlasun chose to keep quiet. She watched him quietly. At the start, she was unwilling to give up her love just like that. However, over time, she quietly gave up. Sometimes, she would reveal a bit of her emotions to Bei. However, she had never really asked him for anything. Instead, she kept these emotions to herself deep in her heart. Her promise was like an island of refuge for her. She was exceptional, and had attracted countless men in in Shrek Academy. However, she rejected all of them for this one true love. As Bei Bei listened to Zhang Lesun's words, his heart ached with a great agony. In his mind, he started to recall everything he had done with Zhang Lesun when they were young. Sister Lesun, can I eat the fruits on that tree? Pick one for me. Okay, Sister Lesun, you're so beautiful. Marry me when I grow up, okay? Okay. Sister Lesun, I'm tired. I'll carry you. Sister Lesun, I'm hungry. I'll cook something for you. Sister Lesun. Tears streamed down Bei Bei's face. At this moment, he finally realized how much Zhang Lesun had sacrificed for their relationship. Through all these years, she had concealed her truest emotions in the depths of her heart. No wonder he had felt himself growing distant from Sister Lesun after he met Tanya. Sister Lesun, how can I face you? At this moment, Bei Bei heard the terrifying voice. Since you love him so much, and he doesn't love you, are you still willing to sacrifice yourself for him? The calm voice asked once more. Its tone was cold. Zhang Lesun fell silent for a while. She raised her hands to wipe away her tears, then said with determination, I am. Are you willing to die for him? I said that I'm willing, Zhang Lesun said calmly and emotionlessly. At this moment, Bei Bei, who heard this voice too, felt as if someone had slammed a sledgehammer into his chest. His face turned pale, and his body trembled. He sat straight down on the floor, and his lips quivered, but he said nothing. You're a dumb girl, but your emotions are true, and your love is selfless. You passed the sincerity round. Your selfless sacrifice shall be rewarded. You are hereby exempted from the second round, said the calm voice with a bit more emotions. Zhang Lesun was stunned. Then, she watched as the light screen rose in front of her once more. However, how could she remain calm? The golden light flashed once more, and circled them again. The warm gold light shone everywhere. It appeared that in the depths of the lake of the yin-yang love querying valley, the iciness and hate were warmed by the many forms of selfless love it had encountered. The golden light now circled for a longer period of time. When it stopped once more, it stopped at Dai Huabin. He floated up, and a clear golden light flashed. Dai Huabin became visibly tense. Like everyone else selected by the golden light, he knew nothing about what had just happened. However, as one of the top soul masters of the younger generation, he was no fool. While he hated Huo Yuao, he recognized his abilities. When Huo Yuao had shouted those words just then, he heard all of them. No one would ignore life-saving advice because of hate. Do you have a lover? The calm voice asked. Yes, I do. Dai Huabin replied without hesitation. At the same time, Huo Yuao's words rang out repeatedly in his head. Speak the truth always, no matter what you're asked. Who is your lover? Dalu, Dai Huabin replied. However, he did not know that the moment he said that, Dalu could already hear his voice. Is she the one you love the most? Dai Huabin paused for a moment. He hesitated. Is she the one you love the most? If you don't reply after the third time, you'll be punished with death. The calm voice said coldly. No, Dai Huabin said. When he said that, his voice was rigid. When Dalu, who was sealed in her own golden light, heard his response, her entire body stiffened. An incredulous look crossed her face, and her tiny frame trembled. She wanted to struggle, to fight, but here, even Elderson was helpless. How could she escape? Then who do you love? The calm voice asked. Dai Huabin looked prepared as he said solemnly, Wang Qia. At that moment, Wang Qia could hear him too. Since you already have a lover, how can you love someone else? How can you face her? The voice was merciless. Dai Huabin's eyes turned dark, and he said, It's true, I can't face her, but I do love her. However, in my heart, I think I love Wang Qia more. The calm voice asked, I'll give you a choice. Between the two of them, you can choose one to die for. If you do that, she'll live. Who do you choose? This question impacted Dai Huabin greatly. His entire body turned stiff. In his head, the same question replayed itself over and over again. He had never given it much thought, but he had also never expected to face such a problem today. At this moment, his brain ran wild. This time, the voice did not prompt him. It wanted him to think this through. After a long while, Dai Huabin finally said with difficulty, I know. If I had to choose one person to die for, I'd choose Dalu. Hey! The calm voice was calm. Dalu? You don't love her, though. Dai Huabin replied, yes, but she's the one who loves me the most in this world. She's always by my side, and she sacrifices herself for me in many ways. I can't face her because I am attracted to some other woman. However, I'm clear that Wang Qia doesn't love me, and there's no possibility of anything happening with her. All I can do is love her quietly. However, if I were to choose someone to become my wife, I'd choose Dalu. At the same time, I'll use my life to protect her. If I die and she lives, I won't have any regrets. The calm voice appeared lost as it said, your thinking is weird, and your view on love is hard to understand, but your heart is true. You passed the first round. Sincerity. When Dai Huabin landed back on the ground, his face had a terrible expression. He had been asked the most painful question of his life, and experienced intense emotional turmoil. The golden light flashed once more, and landed on Dalu. When it dissipated, Dalu's small frame started to rise. At this moment, her face was streaked with tears. When she heard that Dai Huabin did not love her the most, her heart was filled with despair. The entire world had turned grey. However, when she heard that Dai Huabin was willing to die for her after he said all those things, her emotions became exceedingly complicated. However, she was not in despair anymore. At the very least, the man she loved still liked her. Do you have a lover? The calm voice asked. I do, Dalu replied, choking on her words. At that moment, Dai Huabin, who was still in emotional agony, heard her voice. His entire body trembled, and he realized that she had heard everything. It was likely that Wang Qia had heard him too. An indescribable feeling rose in his heart, like he had lost his soul. His entire body went limp. If not for the mysterious power supporting him, he would have already collapsed to the ground. Who is he? Dai Huabin, replied Dalu, gritting her teeth. Then, you heard everything he just said. What are your thoughts? The calm voice seemed to ask the questions that would cause the most pain. He's a piece of shit. Dalu cried out. Afterward, she began bawling. Do you still love him? The calm voice continued its questioning. Dai Huabin opened his eyes and perked his ears up to listen. He was suddenly scared of the answer he would get. However, he could not help but listen. Yes. Dalu did not hesitate, even though she was bawling her eyes out. She answered the question without a moment's hesitation. He doesn't love you, and you called him a piece of shit. So why do you still love him? The calm voice had no intention of sparing her. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.